Wow.
Hello, everyone.
Our host today started by saying that when he came on stage, it reminded him of going into a mine. And I've just realized walking across the stage, the music is very like the Macarena. So that's what I now have in my head, which I'm not sure how helpful that is going to be for any of us. Thanks very much for your attention for the next 20 minutes. I know people are getting hungry. It's time for lunch. But please join Piotr and I in just reflecting a little bit about what is artificial intelligence and how is it transforming business services. Aside from being obsessed by the Macarena, my name is Carole, and I look after our transformation automation agenda within Capgemini Business Services. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, from being an accountant to being a consultant to actually doing things, and now actually kind of coming back and having time to reflect on what we're all going to have to do next. Piotr?
Yeah, my name is Piotr Grzywacz. I'm a VP at Business Transformation Services. My focus is on technology-enabled transformation, so I work with Carole. And well, I'm really happy to be here today with you and share our insights into AI and how to turn it into success. Yeah? So, yeah.
Okay, so everyone is talking about automation, artificial intelligence. Yeah, it's a very exciting time actually to be in our industry. I think when the digital revolution happened a couple of years ago, or say 5 years ago, it was all about the front office, as Phil says. It was about how we engage with customers, how we sell things. Then the automation agenda came along, and I could never understand for what reason it seemed to start in the back office. Everything that was being written about was about processing, how we're going to change things. A lot of things were talking about elimination of jobs. Then I would say the agenda shifted again 18 months ago, ever so slightly. It moved away from being automation, something very simplistic, to complicated automation, and eventually to artificial intelligence. So it's actually quite interesting that even as we try to unify what these different technologies can do, in our own way, we're all breaking it down into smaller points, trying to understand, is it automation or is it artificial intelligence? However, what we set out to do, there's been lots of interesting surveys discussed this morning, and again, what's interesting is they're all about expectation and expectation of our customers. So whether or not it's truly real, as we discuss it, it's certainly real in the eyes of our customers. So what Piotr and I looked at was, we surveyed 500 CFOs. A lot of our customers are CFOs. We work a lot in the finance and accounting world. And to understand what they knew about automation and artificial intelligence and what they were expecting. And the reality was what they expect in 3 years, one, they believe it's true. Okay, so we're a services industry in business services. Our customer believes it's true, so now on some level we have to make it true for them. At the moment, as we've talked about, people are looking at the bottom line benefits, but actually anticipating transformation gains. That's what I say, is that this discussion has shifted a lot and shifted very quickly. The other thing that was really clear from the results that we got in the survey was there are people who are leading the way. It's not so much we're into a situation of winners and losers yet, but there's definitely leaders who are mastering things, making progress, moving past proof of concepts, and people who are still exploring, talking about it. And I would totally agree, Phil, with your previous point in the last session. Why is it taking us so long to adopt? If anyone would like to chat about that in any of the breaks, I'd be really interested to learn that. But what did we learn, Piotr, from the people that we surveyed in terms of what they see as the barriers and enablers?
Yes, so it was really interesting what the CFOs have told us, and in particular the automation masters. Yeah, they have given us a few points which seem to be really critical in order to move into this area of transformative results. Yeah? And first of all, the less advanced companies on the automation journey, they told us they were struggling with people and capabilities. Yeah? So, and this is really interesting because, traditionally, especially in the outsourcing industry and shared services, this industry was very good at hiring people, and bringing them into delivery roles like in P2P, R2R, HR, IT, whatever it was. Yeah. But now, the game is changing. Yeah? Now it's about, to create environments, yeah, where technology and processes could come together. Yeah? So this means actually that we need to hire disruptors. Yeah? We also need to train our existing teams so they are able to work with technology, yeah? And in parallel stay in the business context. Yeah? And it's also important to work out of the silos. Yeah? So this has been told here already a few times. Yeah? But this is really critical, and this leads us actually to our further points that we've heard from the CFOs. Yeah? That is extremely important enabler to have, yeah? Cross-functional teams, yeah? So people from across the board with different competencies, with different perspectives, yeah? IT, finance, purchasing, operations, wherever they are from, yeah? And all of it, it's even more critical if you consider the third points that we have heard from the interviewed CFOs. And this was a point that they are struggling with technology, and especially with outdated systems, legacy architectures, and basically pure integration between them. Yeah? So if you want to overcome this, yeah, you need to have a sound fundament, yeah? And the sound fundament are your processes. Yeah? So you need to make your processes right, eliminate what's unnecessary, optimize, transform. Yeah? And in order to do this correctly, and to succeed, you need to have the people, yeah? Right skills. And their final point, the fourth point, was about having the right frameworks. And in this context, we would like to give you a bit more details and insight into our way of thinking. Yeah, Carole?
Okay. So I came new to this a couple of years ago. I'm not a technologist by background. I'm an accountant by background. So if it's possible for anyone to learn from accounting to technology, this is learnable. And I suppose coming back to your point, Piotr, we need to be able to bring things together, yeah, both process and technologies. What helped me in doing that is there's almost two angles to artificial intelligence and how we use artificial intelligence. On the right-hand side of the page, we've got the different technologies are out there and the different ways that artificial intelligence helps those technologies. So whether it's, we talk about neural networks, we talk about machine learning, we talk about things that are instilled with, say, the cognitive tools, but they are things that build artificial intelligence into the capture or the manipulation of data. And that's an important thing for us to understand as business services professionals. Because I think the reality is we can't just leave that up to the tech guys. We need to understand what are those things. But what we started to put on that, the great insight I had working with my colleagues in the group that my colleagues had, was to say, actually, if we look at that from what we know about, what people know about, those technologies help us do 5 different things. They help us sense things differently. So whether it's the technology that fits alongside things like the Internet of Things, there in the bottom left, where we have the ability to monitor. This is really exciting for people who are interested in controls. With the amount of new data that we have coming in, things are going to start happening in and around monitor. There's different ways for us to interact with our customers. We talk about chatbots, but there's also the way that we can put different intelligent offers in front of customers, whether that's the end customer or whether that's how we're interacting with people because we're doing collections, or whether that's working, as our colleague said earlier on with ServiceNow, with our internal customers and treating them as the professionals that they are. So lots of different ways that the technologies help change how we interact. Then at the top of the pyramid there, or the top of the 5 circles, we have ACT. It's another interesting fact that if we analyze what a business services business does, in reality, probably about 70 to 80% of what we do is in that box, okay? And so all of that is where a lot of the intelligent automation type activity with RPA happens. That's where there's a big focus on efficiency. So if you think about it, the other way of looking at these 5 senses and looking at the way technology will impact our world of business services is we need less effort to do things, but there's the potential to do more things. And that was an eye-opener for me, as someone who's worked in the industry for a long time, was to say, actually, in reality, in terms of when we look at services, because we've come out of a background where we look at processes, we look at leaning things, we've just focused on service. The other senses, whether it's interaction or whether it's monitor, or now coming into the analytics, actually give us new things that we can do and point us in the direction of what else we do. So this is the other component within this, is connecting all of these ideas, connecting these senses, just like human beings. That's where intelligence comes from. We learn things, we remember things, we put things into our knowledge bank. We're then able to apply those things, the knowledge that we have, when we're doing things. So actually, the second wave, as it were, of artificial intelligence comes not from what's embedded in the technology, but from what we can do when we combine all of those senses together and connect them to start to create artificial intelligence, or we have the augmented human intelligence, but where we're actually able to take the data that we have as business service professionals, which is vast, and start to better understand how you can analyze it and how you can use it. So that's how we see the impact that artificial intelligence will have on business services. On one hand, right now, it's a challenge to learn about new things, have the open minds that we discussed in the group before me. On another hand, it's an incredible opportunity, while some of the core things that we've relied upon that have been our business are automated, that we also then understand how we use technology to build out and do different things. I think of all the senses, the one that probably we talk about least is knowledge, because the component, if we're going to really deliver artificial intelligence, fine, we have the knowledge of how the new technology works, we have the knowledge of how we apply that to our business, but then we also need to have the knowledge of where that value is going to come from. And interestingly, we need to be able to impart that knowledge more quickly to the millennials, much maligned millennials, who join our business, to give them the opportunity for them to learn faster, so that knowledge is no longer something that's codified and you get access to the more and more senior that you are. If we look at the way that knowledge works, say, external to the business services world, in the internet or in YouTube, you can learn really quickly. So that's one of the areas that we're piloting, is to see how can the artificial intelligence that's inbuilt in tools like Transversal start to work to actually help us connect our workforce faster, so that they're actually able to start to take that step away from just simple processing, sometimes not so simple, but often simple processing, into the rest of the world. So that's, I think, something that we in business services have long been the guardian of process. And I think, as you say, Piotr, process is not going to go away. However, we also need to understand that a lot of what we know and what we do is almost like corporate code. And we are the people who embed the corporate knowledge through the processes and understand what they're going to deliver. For me, I think as a business services professional, that's exciting. And that's really where artificial intelligence starts to come in, when we can bring those things together. Mm-hmm. But Piotr, you've looked at some of the use cases, simple or complex, that we have, that we've seen working. Yes. Is there any that you would pick out?
Yeah, so definitely I would pick out a number of them, yeah, but for
obviously
today
I've stolen your thunder by taking the knowledge example first.
Yes, exactly. But I would pick two for today. Yeah? The first one would be around AI-enabled document digitization. Yeah? So you've probably heard about this case already a number of times. This is a simple case, but also extremely powerful one. Yeah? So what happens here is actually whenever mass volumes of machine-produced documents, if structured or unstructured, enter your processes, yeah, AI can make a difference, and this is because it's learning. Yeah, so we use here a system called InStream, yeah, which is machine learning enabled, and it can become 10 times, 20 times, 25 times quicker than human being could ever become in such type of processing, and it's also natural language processing enabled. Yeah. Another strong differentiator, it also improves quality. So it's so much different than the traditional OCR that we definitely see plenty of business value behind it, and definitely we would recommend looking into it. Yeah? Another one would be around AI-enabled data mining, or close to this headline. Yeah? So we use at Capgemini a system which is called Prompt, yeah? And what it does, it basically quiz your tasks, and then we can assign their tasks to people. Yeah? So imagine AI can actually see the task queue, yeah, on one side. On the other side, see the bandwidth of your teams, yeah? And based on predefined criteria, assign tasks to people, optimizing efficiency, yeah? And really improving speed and quality. Yeah? So this is removing your line manager from the processing. Yeah? And we believe this is an extremely strong use case and a very interesting example. Of course, the line manager still has the job to be done, yeah? The soft stuff around your team, managing knowledge and maintaining the algorithms. Yeah? But if you ask me, I would say these are probably the two most interesting use cases recently that we are working on.
Yeah, it's early, and I would still come back to the fact that we've discussed, and I like the point that one of the previous speakers made, we've been talking about this for a while, but I think gradually we can see more and more use cases, we see more and more deployment, and we start to see things scaling up. So I suppose what it means for us, how are we going to be successful in this as business services professionals? And that's what I think we actually need to stop. I completely agree with all the people who've made the points to say people are important. That's a first statement. However, we need to stop thinking that people are the answer to all the problems and start to understand and apply ourselves to say, if I have a problem, if I want to do something differently, how am I going to use technology? How am I going to use automation and AI to solve the problem? Because I think that's one of the ways we start to move to have a culture shift, and we start to have a move towards us taking responsibility as leaders, that we start to say we're going to solve problems by exploring automation and not just the traditional ways we've done things. Secondly, then we start to move towards, if that's in our design thinking, that stage, we then move towards understanding that there is a new arbitrage around technology. How do we use that? And then make sure, I think, that we don't be so nervous about the technology arbitrage, and actually get more nervous and concerned and interested in how we make knowledge work within a business services environment. I think that's going to be the critical thing, I would think, to take away, because we have become very attached to the knowledge that's in people's heads. Yeah, and we know, for most of us who've been involved in work around transition, knowledge that stays in people's heads is very difficult to manage in the long term. If we think about the other changes that sit alongside this environment, the gig economy, more flexibility in the workforce, people moving around the place, that knowledge and that knowledge of corporate coding becomes ever more important in our world and in the work that we do as business service professionals for our businesses. So in terms of the things we should be doing on Monday, Piotr, to take up the baton from our previous discussion?
Yes, exactly. So there would be probably 3 points that we wanted you or propose to remember, from what we have just told. So first thing is really, prepare. Identify the lead for your AI projects or programs for automation journey. Get the governance behind it. This is really probably the first thing. Second point would be bold. So transform your processes and think like out of the box and behind your center. The processes need to be taken end to end if this journey is about to be successful, the AI journey. And finally, if you haven't yet, get started. So there's a very good statement which says actually that we overestimate the impact of the technology in short run and underestimate in long run. So based on that, we believe that really a revolution is ahead. It's actually already in progress. So with these 3 statements, we wanted to thank you.
Okay. Well, let's remember, machines can learn now, so we've all got to be ready to learn as well. So thanks very much for your time, and look forward to carrying on the conversation over the next day and a half. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.